capitalism or the impact, whatever you want to call it.
Which one's first?
So you're getting a new
Impact
paper?
and alt.
So 2 new sheets of paper?
I'm just renaming your sheet of paper.
And the new sheet is the alternative page.
Old
that-
sheet's the alternative page, new sheet's the impact page.
Gotcha.
Can you put me?
Yeah, do you have one separate?
We go into the new sheet first or something?
You want alternative impact, right?
Opposite.
Yeah, I don't think we'll do that.
I'm flipping to the right. Ready, Nate?
Yeah,
Seem tired.
I'm fine.
We meet real-world implementation as top place. One plan text should only be the holding. Opinions dictate are too long to easily get out of no folks to be like plan text piece point. Oral means overrules all not the holding, but then the opinion is done to the 3. Overall is supposed to be because it's not direct action, but rather necessary step taken. Reach confirmation speed action is not correct. Confirmation are taken, and the holding period can make any word any current found footnotes. And the counter-interpretation overrule was implicitly done to the 3. Justice overrule case using body word to place to include the word overrule. Of course, judges rule course just straight from case was formed by use myriad different words. Pending said the overrule case implicitly justice clearly did act overruling down out of the explicit phrase is overrule. We still point to a single identical utterance points to act rule overruling the plan text. That's just because we eliminate the central holding of Morrison, which means that we overrule the case explained functionally because of this. That's our one AC evidence solvency and the topic for the counter-information is best. It takes a top must say overrule. I'm not going to say the word overrule. The sexual resolution burden guarantees sexual competition for all means counterplans like the implicit counterplan, platform counterplan, sexual counterplan, secrecy counterplan, without any ground loss, and there's no ground loss. This kind of thing. The phrase overrule in Morrison gets you 0 ground because the only literature about Morrison is about the presidential effects of Morrison, which the abstract access is done to the after return row subcell in case the word court overturns case place with a completely different case. That's called overruling row, and the court important impact on the broad politics, the interest groups, and public perceptions, interest, the whole party don't trickle down. And you conceded that all the econ literature-based arguments read on the framework of why this type of education is most important is at least comparative to legal education, which outweighs all threat and impact scenarios, and they don't have an impact, the reason why that ground's important.
Impact.
First one answer depoliticization claim, which makes very little sense. Our evidence answer this completely. Ideologies, every ideology is just something that controls and how we act based on a belief of the world. This is something you cannot escape. You can believe capitalism is bad. That is an ideology nonetheless. The politics and ideology are everywhere. You cannot depoliticize something that way. That's what our evidence says. We have to combine the two. Just because ideology is everywhere or not does not mean we should throw up our hands and say, let's just act on our gut, but rather we should try to make things such as rationality and distinctions and try to just give reasoning for things and warrants to decide and the data to decide better types of worlds that the world used to do one way or the other. This is our evidence. This is evidence in our politics of the status quo evidence, which we have very much data for, which says that in the world of 2 competing justices, there are types of justices who identify themselves as traditional legal justices and justices who identify themselves as law and economic justices. In the world of the ones who identify themselves as traditional justices, they ultimately have historically, and we have data to support this, been much more ideological, and they're ruling in much more just gut reaction and not on the facts of the case, which proves in the arbitrary nature of their interpretation. On the capitalism debate, their argument of that there are across our data framework here. They have one recent statistic they've cited in this debate. They have cited the 7% of income. The problem with this is that this is not a rate of income. This doesn't determine anything about whether capitalism has been helping or hurting people in the last 50 years or 100 years. At best, this reason why there was a gross income disparity in the first place because of things such as feudalism, colonialism, and alternate forms of economic systems such as communism and things like that, which have become of this. The capitalism, as per our data we read on the evidence, and the only one specific claims on this, has been decreasing inequality throughout the world, aka equalizing wages. That is card you make fun of was just the claim in the warrant card. The card after that was the one with data that cited that indicted there's very specifically in a few different claims. This data framework is most important for the evaluation debate. You can see our framework. They have not one card specifically why we shouldn't look at data about the world. This is most important because it's how we know about the world. Their author they are citing it is about. He sounds very good. I suspect that a lot of the data he's using very hypercritical, and our evidence is very indicative of their type of models they use. The only thing I think it cites is the UN model, which is what our all evidence indicts directly because it says it does not take dictate things such as purchasing power and things like that, which are more important determinations of people's overall wealth. This can be explained in a second. The reason why this data is most important, why they should lose debate, is because they do not know how the world is and how they interpret, and you should give them a 0% probability of any of their capitalism bad impacts or alienation impacts, because this is something you cannot prove or know. It's a gut feeling. Do not accept Gabe's spin and jive on this situation if there's no fact or support proving it. This is, we sent across our inequality answers here. Paula says that free trading, economic rationality encourages wage convergence, which forces countries to increase productivity growth in order to stay competitive. This further increases wages, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, resulting in the golden age of development. And your data is flawed. November 2003 says corrections result in overwhelming evidence of convergence between countries. Ace of point is purchasing power. Their data assumes total wealth once converted into U.S. currency. This ignores exchange rate differences and local price variations, which artificially deflate the value of wealth. Visa points is individual first country. Their data assumes inequality between countries, not persons. This mitigates the effect of Chinese and Indian economic growth and over-exaggerates the impact of Rwandan failures. CISA point is trade liberalization. Their data assumes growing gap between the rich and the poorest. This ignores the reason why the poor get poor is because of a lack of economic rationality. Trade liberalization. DISA point is other proxies. The UN Human Development Index points to other proxies of human welfare, such as education and life expectancy, and shows that globalization, economic rationalities on improving these living standards of thing. And this is more important because absolute poverty also outweighs relative poverty. This is in balance. That's why there's a view question whether inequality is important. Poor people care much more about absolute standards of living. Concerned about inequality is highly income, the less spirit of good. The more one becomes richer, the one is concerned with the Joneses. And this is important because the poverty is something that should be rejected. It's only an impact of all their efforts, because the reason why people are poor, people are not in situations in the world, it is also people only care about the absolute poverty before relative poverty, because we must have food on the table in order before you start caring about whether the U.S. is doing better than you. Also, step 5, growth is key to bring about justice. One must think about arguing about the importance of non-material things. It's clear that without growth on the table, this seems to mean just that, arbitrary arguments. And this is their labor conditions argument is a complete lie. Economic rationality and the free trade brought upon is key to raise the top labor conditions. Here's specific sites, citations, Dresser 2000. The equiness created by worker standards is a trade force linked to improvements of core level standards, defined as non-discrimination workplace, the right to unionize, and prohibition of forced labor and exploitative child labor. This is animal standards supposed to have an average wages in order to recruit better workers. The corporation limited fictionally as a rigorous regulatory standards to moving home countries to favor improving standards to gain competitive advantage over non-competitors, perhaps most damaging. There's no evidence corporations direct investment to countries with lower labor standards. The relationship between FDI and labor standards is strongly positive, and overwhelming majority of the global FDI, aka foreign direct investment, was directed toward economies which have higher labor standards. 60% of the production was sold in the U.S. host country. The greatest fear that U.S. multinationals will exploit and re-export backgrounds not materialize. The type of activity characterized less than 4% of the investment. Host countries will considerable power, diversity, air pressures, and the investment signs China, regulated hurdles to trade, copyright rights, corruption, and requirements for transfers. 1 billion consumers will contact behavior firms, have aware of the liquor public opinion profits, and labor mishap can cripple corporations' brand name. And claims of alienation create a secondary victimization, which reinforces the very domination. Economic rationality is the only way to break the cycle of self-referential exploitation. Rise not gate. Economics is a powerful implication for ethics. Knowledge of economics is a powerful antidote to unfound feelings of being a victim or perpetuator of exploitation, or all feelings of alienation based on the belief that economic world is immoral, purposeless, and chaotic. Such unfounded feelings rest on the ignorance of economics and producing solutions point to way intelligent actions, very possible, radical, progressive, improvement, interpretations of human beings everywhere. This knowledge cannot help but respond to conviction that fundamental nature of the world is benevolent. Thus, no rational basis for feelings of fundamental strangers from the world of action. The basis of alienation resides in the psychological makeup of those who experience the problem. Ignores economics, reinforce the feelings of alienation, allows the alleged dependency of the economic system serves convenient rational elucidation for the existence of the problem. Oh. First permutation do both. This is solves back all of your offices. So if we're withdrawing from the world, withdrawing from ideology is impossible, just our imagination of doing so is also important. Their contradiction of using laptops to make these arguments is no different than our contradiction of arguing economic rationality, which proves that the permutation solves back all offensive claims. Their alternative is also impossible. Ideology of capital is always everywhere. This is the point of our Jaffe card. The belief that we should reject all of capitalism and move away from anything that's a level that came from a production of economy. It results in the world of living in a cave throughout hell of a century, because you do not want to work on a laptop, you do not want to go to school, go to the store and buy food, because that food comes from other countries produced through capitalistic situations. You do not go buy glasses, you do not have healthcare insurance, you do not have situations of medicine. These are situations all illustrated in our Posner as well as our Reisman card that says, without this is the world of no survival. You should not be here today because you came on a plane of situation. This was the ideology of capital that controlled this. To resist this possibility is one that is a death impenetrably. They say we should do the impossible. A's point, the possible is the death. B sub point is this impossibility, imagination, etc. It's just complete jive. Our job evidence says that. Why would you abandon a model that on par is increasing lives? It may not be the best model in the world, it may not be the perfect model in the world, but it's much better than the type of alternative that's been identified. Your impossibility to bring out new thought has been empirically denied by the history of communism and socialism and economics within the last 50 centuries. We've always said, let's try to do better, but every time it's been done, it's resulted in worse living standards and ultimate reversal back to capitalism. This also Here's evidence that reform is empirically the only way to help people's lives. Burroughs the one step saying that everyone says revolution enough, always sit waiting for revolution. Pure, but alone we need to live the bloody mirror. The step saying anything short of revolution reformist, we need to recognize no revolution against overthrowing state. Seizure is a reflection on occurring in the grassroots community work as well. The Spanish Revolution happened because the Spanish were radical, committed. It was almost 70 years organized and building popular base, pre-existing structures, organization helps workers take over, participation unions, faction collectives, and enabled workers to develop knowledge. And reduce expectations are fast road to burnout. And thing.
Did I have 30 seconds left? 17 seconds left? Is that right?
Yep.
And your capital sugarcoating Clinton is admit capital is too weak to determine the working class composition. That's one most blind contemporary Marxists who failed to see how working class struggles completed during a domination crisis. Yet capital claims also life. You're not in the brave new world. Working class is forcefully, repeatedly started its autonomy. Just as the working class struggling factories are able to force capital to provide itself, so too.
Can I get back all the 1 and C cards?
I don't know if I grabbed.
I know your partner has some of those.
I don't know how many.
All right, sweet. The most all right. So feudalism, colonialism, socialism, all these were bad for the economy. Can I see your data, please?
On what?
You made a claim that socialism, feudalism, all these things are bad for the economy. Can I please see your
That's
data?
illustrated in our second Warburg card. That says
Right.
things have been getting better. And
Does it say
situations,
feudalism, socialism?
Well, it gives
all
the
these
argument
things?
that people have been embracing a free market or an economic rationality model have been doing much better than nations that do not.
Then the
which
nations that do
assumes-
not.
Yeah, which
What
assumes
assumes?
situations of either authoritarian rule, monarchy, socialism, or previous
Does it
government
outline all
structures.
these specific things?
It says alternative ones, which encompasses all of them. Your answer to this
Okay.
anyway is just going to be, well, we're something else. We're going to be beyond traditional,
Fascinating.
you know,
How do
Soviet
you
experiences,
how do you
and that's not
measure?
really predictable.
Can you measure everything with data?
Can you measure everything?
How do you
with
measure the
data?
psychological harm that rape may potentially cause to a person?
You can look at the effects of psychological harm. Obviously, how do
Like
you know
what?
you were psychologically hurt? Measure the number of times people cry could be a proxy for this. The less times people
What if
go to
someone
work.
doesn't like to cry?
Okay, other things such as work. How do you know someone's psychologically damaged? How do you know
That's
someone
what I'm
hurts
asking
on
you.
the inside?
That's what
This
I'm
is the point.
asking.
We say the only way you know someone inside is hurt is by an effect. It has to affect their lives in one way or another.
So by an effect, but there could be multiple effects that
Yeah,
can be
and you
measured.
can look at proxies
Okay.
to determine this.
Okay,
and
so
which
there
ones
are
more
different things
important.
that can be measured for different people in different situations
Yes.
that determine the
Yes, but that
psychological
does not
effects
mean
of
we
rape.
should throw up our hands and say we shouldn't even try. But rather,
Interesting. Okay, but now, then there could be different measures for what creates something to be economically viable or not. Certainly, you could look at the growth compared to the past, but you could not
But here's the
perform an analysis
problem.
of
You're-
the wage gap.
the problem is your data on your human development thing, a lot of it is wrong. The best examples, the warrants we're giving why our data is better than yours. You may have data, well, I don't even think you have data, but say your evidence that you're citing that has mystery data is really data. Our big Nuremberg card
Okay.
goes through and says
Let's
that
talk
type
about
of
some
data
empirical
is
relations
more
of
that type
capitalism.
of data compared
You
to ours.
talk about how capitalism has improved the working conditions of people empirically. So
That was
the
a
people in
long
China who are in
labor
sweatshops, are they better off now?
Then not having a job and starving,
Then
yes.
Why were they starving? They worked on farms where they produced their own food.
No, they worked on farms where there was feudalistic people in control of the government. It took a majority of their food.
Okay,
left
so
them
how about the
starving.
people in America that get paid 7 cents a tomato?
7 cents a tomato.
Yeah, that they pay.
Because, okay, and
That's
what,
pretty cool. When was the last time we had a minimum wage increase?
that doesn't, first of all, minimum wage is not at all anything that's being defended, and our
Why?
evidence says
Why?
that
That's a part
overall
of
wages
capital.
have
This
went
is part of
up.
the
Wages
way
don't go
in
down
which-
and depressed, they are going up because of capital, just because
Really,
it's
minimum wage
7
has gone
cents
up in
now.
the last 20 years?
Minimum wage is not, yes, it
How
has
much
in the
has the
last
price
20
of
years,
living
first of
gone
all.
up, though?
Second of all, more
How much has the
importantly,
price of living
minimum
gone up,
wage is
though,
not
compared?
average wage. Just because a
Minimum wage is not
corporation is not
average wage.
forced to pay everyone, if the corporation wanted to exploit everyone, they'd pay everyone here $1 for working an entire year. The reason why they don't do that is there's supply and demand for that. Our evidence says, on balance, wages have gone up for everyone.